I'm Frank, and I'm all about helping business owners and entrepreneurs start and grow their lawn care business. Make sure to subscribe, like, and hit the bell button so you're notified of my future videos. Hey, today we have Steve Eagle. He is a YouTuber, and what he does on YouTube, he puts out some really great videos on repair, maintenance of your equipment, and we wanted to get him on and kind of get his perspective and get some insight as to, the different types of equipment and repairs and such. Steve, hey, welcome to the show. Really glad that you're here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
No problem. And so, Steve, tell me, a little bit about how you got started. Tell me also about your YouTube channel.
All right. My grandpa worked at a lawnmower and repair shop for small engines when I was a little kid. And even after he retired, he kept doing it. And I kind of grew up around it. My father was a mechanic, so I've always been around that type of environment. And it's really something I enjoy. It's something that I got started on at a very young age. And working with my grandpa, he was the most patient man you could ever meet in your life. He was somebody that, as a young kid was always around. He would go over details and show you little things. And I kind of carried on that legacy, and I enjoy showing other people how to repair and fix things. That's kind of how I transitioned into the YouTube channel as I got older. I started the YouTube channel in 2009. Didn't really do anything with it. At that time, I was working on an old Jeep CJ7 that I had planned on recording a video for and never really got around to it. But small engines are kind of my forte, and working on them has been more of something that I enjoy doing. And the YouTube channel is Bald Eagle 242, and got a lot of repair and restoration type videos on there, fixing things up. Cracked John Deere hoods are a famous one that everybody likes to see, and how to repair vinyl seats and stuff like that.
Yeah, I noticed the one for the vinyl seats. My goodness, how many views did that thing have?
Yeah, and that's really what took off. Like I said, I started the channel in 2009. I really didn't do anything with it until 10 years later, around 2019. And it wasn't really until this year, in April, that I posted how to repair a cracked John Deere hood and how to repair the seat. And both of those videos are approaching 300,000 views now. So that took me from 260 subscribers to, just over 7,000 now in the last 10 months.
That's amazing. And I bet that's a surprise to you, right? I think, when we think about what videos we're going to put out and how well they're going to do, we seldom figure it out, right? Like you might put that out and you get 200, 300,000 views, and you might put out a video that you think, oh my God, this is the golden egg, right? And then it gets like 200 views.
Absolutely. Those were literally my third and fourth videos that I had put on YouTube, and I never dreamed in a million years that throwing some Plastidip on a vinyl seat would be at 300,000 views and 8 months later.
That's amazing. So, what are a few things that you wish you knew when you first started? When you first started with the YouTube channel?
I didn't realize at the time how much of a community it was and how much people interact with each other. I've been pleasantly surprised to find out there's a lot of small engine channels and even lawn care channels that transition over to the repair channels. There's a lot of live streams and stuff that I've started participating in, and it's really been interesting to kind of get to know other people and how they work on stuff and different things that go along with that. And, as far as editing video, I had no idea how to edit videos when I first started doing this. In fact, my original video is rebuilding a starter on an old Briggs & Stratton motor, and I did that just to kind of learn the YouTube formula and how everything works together. And I recorded the entire video in the horizontal format without realizing it needed to be in the vertical format, and still went ahead and edited it and posted it anyway. But that was my first experience in YouTube. It was 100% trial and error, and it's been a learning curve.
Yeah, I tell you what, there's a lot to learn, right? You transition doing YouTube, and then sometimes you're doing maybe Instagram, and you got to figure out, horizontal, vertical. It's just it's a lot, right? I mean, it's just a lot to take in. And looking at your videos, I mean, I'm impressed. I mean, you've come a long ways. Again, I'm really impressed with your recent growth, and I believe you and I met on Instagram. And I have this podcast, and I do the YouTube channel. And really, what I try to do is teach, business owners that are starting up or wanting to grow their business. And I thought, man, what a great opportunity because to have you on because you bring such a valuable asset, because when somebody's starting out, there's so many different intimidations, right? They're having to deal with, finding the accounts, the marketing aspect, the accounts payable, accounts receivable, the hiring process, and then one of the biggest things is, how do I maintain my equipment? How do I buy the right equipment? How do I, keep this stuff going? It's a really good asset, and that's why I wanted you to be on so we can, tackle some of those things. But going back to the YouTube channel, how, when you're developing your YouTube channel and you're, growing the channel, just a few questions regarding that. How important do you think it is to, respond to questions and comments?
One of the main things that I try to do is help anybody who has a question. I just had a guy earlier today. I've done some heater videos and repair kerosene heaters and stuff. And, people that go to YouTube go on there mostly to find out how to repair something because they're looking for that knowledge. And I really try to give them a good, honest answer. If you look through my YouTube comments, I believe I've answered 99% of all comments that I've ever gotten on YouTube with people asking questions. Now, I might not get to them right away, but it's something that it creates a loyal following and it creates a tight-knit community between the people that are watching your content. And YouTube is very community oriented, and it gives you something to kind of build that relationship with customers. And it's something that, like I said, I just really enjoy doing it.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. I mean, it's super important to make sure that we communicate back to our audience, and that's a great point. Whether it's YouTube or IG or Facebook or any other platform, it's really building that relationship with your audience, and I think you do a fantastic job at that. Like you said, you respond to practically 100%, time permitting, and I know. When I took on this task it's been about 10 months when I started my YouTube channel and then started shortly after that with the Instagram and so on. I know I get tons of messages when it comes to Instagram, and I try wholeheartedly to answer every single question, every comment, and it does become overwhelming, as we continue to grow. But again, I think that's really good advice to make sure that we're doing that, and you're definitely a model for that.
Well, I appreciate it. Instagram is kind of new for me. I created that account over a year ago, and I did absolutely nothing with it. And I started talking with a few other people in the community, and I see everybody's on Instagram. And when I went back to check it out, I already had 300 followers on Instagram, and I had not posted a single photo or a comment.
Wow.
And I found that interesting. I think it was more people that knew me from YouTube, and had some people I had followed me back. So Instagram is new. I've just recently started posting some photos on there and some information that I'm not really giving out other places. So it does give people a insight to kind of get a little more information on things I'm working on, maybe upcoming projects and stuff like that. So cut me some slack on Instagram. I'm still learning on there.
Oh, I think you're doing a great job, and I think that's going to carry over. And if you want to go ahead and give your Instagram ID, go ahead and let's get our listeners and viewers out there to get on Instagram and follow you as well.
Well, it's the Bald Eagle 242. If there's another, I'm not real familiar with the Instagram terminology. If there's something else I need to give out there, but I believe you can find it just by searching Bald Eagle 242.
I think you're right, and we'll make sure we're going to release this. We'll try to get that information out so we can get you as many followers as we can. Because again, I really think for people that are just starting out or have been in the business and trying to grow their business, I think the information you're putting out is a great asset. So we want to make sure that that is being utilized. So moving on, we get all these comments, right? And you're responding to them. How do you deal with, the trolls, I guess?
The best thing I could say about that is I take ownership in everything I post. So first thing I do is see if there's any validity to what they're saying. If there's comments on there, just people pointing out things I should or shouldn't have done. And I have to say, I've actually went back and edited videos and cut a few things out after people pointed out something that I possibly did wrong. So I can learn from my mistakes too, I guess is the number one thing I would say. And unfortunately, we all deal with the trolls in the comments and things like that. But I figure they watch ads too, so let them watch. As long as it doesn't get too bad, I keep them on there. Fortunately, YouTube does have a block system. If it gets too bad, you can always go on and block them.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, taking ownership of that. I interviewed recently Peston Lon Jinja, and he told me basically the same thing. One of the best videos that he made was from somebody that was trolling him, right? And, with us keeping an open mind and really, taking that criticism and turning into something that's gold. And in his case, that's what happened. And I think that's really good advice as you're given, to our listeners that are going to be doing YouTube channel. So
yeah, you can't take it personal because you will drive yourself nuts if you try to respond and correct people that make inappropriate comments and stuff like that. You just have to let it roll off your back sometimes and just run with it.
I agree 100%. Now, we talked about the YouTube channel. Let's go ahead and dive in when it comes to, preventive maintenance, equipment, and repairs, right? So, as somebody that's starting out or that's somebody that's been in business for a long time, give us your overview of, how important you believe preventive maintenance is on the equipment, as well as maybe giving us some tips.
I think preventive maintenance is probably one of the most overlooked things I see from guys doing commercial work. You're working 8 to 12 hours a day, when you're busy in the summer, and a lot of people really overuse their equipment in relation to how much they take care of it. Keeping blades sharp, keeping oil changed, keeping the grass and debris cleaned off of the mower, because if it gets damp, it causes corrosion and rust. And, to somebody that's in the industry, the best advice I can give to them is just set a schedule, have something in place to where, you may not do it every day, but at least you're going to take the leaf blower and blow the debris off of it when you pull it up on the trailer at the end of the day. It will drastically increase the life of the bearings and your spindles and the belts underneath the deck. Everything that you can do up front is only going to save you time and money down the road, because if you're not doing that kind of stuff and you have downtime on equipment, it costs you a lot more money than it's going to cost to do the preventive maintenance on it up front.
Absolutely, and I know I used to be in the lawn maintenance side of the business, which is the mowing, doing the shrubs and the flower bed clean out, mulching. So from the mowing aspect, the equipment that we had, some of the most important things was the filter and making sure that we're changing the oil on a regular basis and so forth and so on. And is there anything else, any other tips that you can give that that the listeners and the viewers can really hone in on maybe specific equipment, maybe blowers, edgers, weed eaters, and such?
How much time do we have here?
we got as much time as you need.
Well, I guess one thing to consider, a lot of guys getting into this have open trailers, and getting the sun and the weather on the trailer, that can be a big thing. So generally just start off with storage of your equipment. And if you have an enclosed trailer, or at least a garage you can back your trailer into at the end of the day. Um, General maintenance, as far as, especially two cycle equipment, make sure the oil and the gas is mixed correctly. Make sure you're using the correct oil for your equipment. If you're doing snow removal in the wintertime, it's different oil than if you're running a mower at 90 degrees in the summer. And just be familiar with your equipment and make sure that you're using the recommended parts and materials for it.
Yeah, and that's a great point. There's always the opportunity to reference the manual, right? Because there's a wealth of information that I think we overlook when it comes to the owner's manual.
Hmm. Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've seen even commercial guys that are spending $10,000 on equipment are still dumping the same oil they use in their diesel pickup truck. And there are differences between oils and lubricants and stuff that you need to use on your equipment. Grease fittings, making sure that you've got a readily available grease gun and regularly greasing the fittings. And a lot of people will do that too much. They'll pump it 10 pumps in a little grease fitting. And you really just need to kind of put a pump or two in there maybe once a week, depending on how many hours you're using your equipment, and just make sure that you stay on top of the regular maintenance. And you can have a piece of equipment that'll last you twice as long as it will if you don't do the maintenance.
Absolutely, and again, that's really important because that preventive maintenance is going to really bring our money back down to the bottom line, and that's what I really emphasize and try to focus in on is how do we save that money and get that money to the bottom line. We don't want to be turning our wheels when it comes to having to replace the equipment on a regular basis because we didn't do the simple things, the air filters, the oil, and making sure we get the premium gas in there. I don't know how you feel about that on certain engines. Do you have any feelings about that as far as what kind of gas we should be using in some of our engines?
Well, I know the higher octane premium gas will last longer in storage just because it has more octane to lose in the first place. But generally, you want to use whatever the manufacturer recommends. You don't get more power or more miles per gallon per se out of a premium gas. It's more what the manufacturer recommends. Most of your smaller engines are not a high compression style engine that's going to require a premium gas, but it doesn't hurt to run it, but it is a little more expensive to run it. If you're going to, buy a couple 5-gallon cans and you plan on storing it for a while, the higher octane gas will stay fresh longer. But other than that, I would use whatever it recommends by the manufacturer.
Great advice. Great advice. And if somebody is just starting out, right, and they're having to consider whether they're going to get a commercial mower or a residential mower, and maybe they're doing 5, 10, 15, 20 yards a day, right, as they're growing their business and they're just starting out. Do you have any recommendations, or do you see or can you give us kind of the pros and cons of going to residential or commercial grade mowers?
Well, I can tell you there's no comparison between a commercial grade mower and a residential mower, and even like a dealer model residential mower versus a big box store mower. There's huge differences between those two. There is a time when a professional lawn care guy would probably want to look at a residential style mower, more for like a 30-inch cut or a 33-inch cut, where his main job is running his 54-inch commercial mower and doing most of the lawns. But you may have a few customers where you have a backyard and you just can't get your equipment through it, where I would recommend something like an old Troy-Bilt or Craftsman or something like that, just because you want to be able to get your money's worth out of it. But as a general rule, if you're going to be using it more than 8 to 10 hours a week, your residential stuff is not going to last. You're going to spend more money in repairs, and you're going to have more downtime, and the life expectancy on it is not going to be anywhere near what a commercial mower is. So for most guys doing this full time as a lawn care guy, I would definitely recommend going commercial. And I look at this a little differently than some guys. I'm not somebody that's going to go out and buy new equipment because I don't mind working on it. I know how to work on it. And to recommend somebody to buy used equipment really depends on, do they know how to do basic service on it? Can they replace spindle bearings if they're wore out? Can they, you know, if an engine goes out, can you swap an engine on it? If you can do that kind of stuff, you can save a lot of money in the long term by not going out and buying that $10,000 mower. You could go out and buy a $4,000 or $5,000 mower that maybe needs a little bit of work, and you put another $1,000 in it, you just save $4,000. So it really depends on the relationship that you would have with your repair shops in your local area. Somebody that that can do that kind of work for you, or actually being able to do it yourself, on whether I would recommend going used or even with a residential. Now, if you're talking about somebody that's just starting out, I would probably get your feet wet with something that's on the cheaper side, because I can't tell you how many mowers that I've bought over the years. I do a lot of buying and selling too, from guys that just started in lawn care this year. And by the end of the season, they're wondering how they're going to make it through the winter. And to make it through the winter, they end up selling their $10,000 mower for $6,000. So
Wow.
I hate to see that happen, but it's kind of one of those win-win situations. He's going to sell it to somebody because he needs the cash, but just make sure that when you get into this kind of stuff, what the costs are going to be year-round, not just what you can make in the summer, because it's a year-round investment for most people that are making payments on this equipment. And I see it almost every year, especially this time of year. You can pick up some really expensive equipment because everybody needs to make it through the winter.
Yeah, that's really good advice, and we're on the same page as an operator and somebody that, as an operator myself, and somebody that's wanting to help people get into the business or expand their business. One of the things that I've always, told people that are starting out, don't make it an excuse that you can't afford a commercial mower to get started, right? I always want people to get started, So even if you need to go get a residential mower, and even a used residential mower, just to get yourself started, right? That's more important than the fancy equipment. The cut, in my mind, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm comparing, a 21-inch residential mower versus a 21-inch Toro commercial mower, the price difference being 3 times, right around 3 times the price, the cut is probably going to be about the same, or to the point where it's not noticeable. Of course, the commercial mower is going to last longer. The main difference that I know of, I'm not a mechanic like yourself, or know as much about the mechanical side of the mowers, but from my perspective, it's about the deck, right? The commercial mower is going to have a heavier deck. The residential mower is not going to have the heavier deck, which I always tell people that's actually a benefit to you. If you're a solo operator, maybe you don't have a trailer, maybe you don't even have ramps when it comes to, getting the mower up onto your truck. It handles easier because it's, lighter, and you can actually pick it up. I mean, really, as a solo operator, try picking up a commercial 21-inch mower. It's pretty challenging, right?
Oh yeah. Your commercial grade mowers usually have a 10 gauge steel or thicker deck, which is a pretty good heavy deck. Some of them are actually cast if you get into some of the real expensive ones, where your residential mower, you can literally pick it up and throw it in the back of your truck. You're probably going to throw your back out trying to do that too often with a commercial mower.
Yeah, you won't catch me doing it.
No, I don't recommend that.
I don't even really recommend it for a residential one, but I know it's more doable, right? And
Yeah,
but
yeah.
yeah, but ultimately, like you're saying, ultimately your goal is to get to the commercial, right? To get to that higher quality mower that's going to have, it's going to last longer. The deck is going to never give out, really. I don't think I've seen a deck give out before the engine and other parts, and, the wheels and the spindles and all the good stuff.
Yeah, it's just the opposite of residential. Residential, your decks and transmissions will go out, where your commercial stuff, generally, you've still got a good deck and you've still got good transmissions. The engines are, good for 2 to 3 times the hours too. Even though they look similar, the engines are definitely made different. Some of your residential stuff is just aluminum block with aluminum pistons, and they wear out literally within a season if you're using them more than what a normal residential person would use them for.
Absolutely. And again, going back to it for the listeners and the viewers, what I'm hearing is, yeah, let's get to that commercial side, but don't let that be a hindrance, right? Like
That's correct. Get started.
get
Just,
started.
if it's a passion you have, just get out there and get on it and get started. Build a reputation that keeps you in the market and lets people know who you are and what kind of quality work you do. And once you find that customer base that will support you through the thick and thin, and you've got that income to support it, get to that commercial grade as quick as you can, because it's going to make a long-term investment in your future and something that you can really put to work for you, that you're not working on, you're not servicing all the time, or you're not constantly having breakdowns or have to replace parts on it all the time.
I agree with you 100%. And, going back to, as somebody's just starting out or has been in business for a while, but especially somebody that's just starting out, maybe they can't afford, the $1,200 to $1,500 commercial 21-inch mower. Maybe they're really on a limited budget. When do you recommend, and I think you kind of touched on this a little bit, but let's, if you can elaborate on it a little bit more, when would you recommend, or what do you recommend as far as them getting some, used equipment? How do they go about, making sure that they're getting something of quality?
Used equipment can be touch and go. And I'll tell you, I buy boats in the winter, and I buy motorcycles and lawnmowers in the winter, and I buy snow blowers in the summer. And I can tell you, if somebody's selling a lawnmower in August, there's a reason they're selling that lawnmower. I'm in Southern Ohio, so this time of year nobody's cutting lawns around here. It's the perfect time to buy lawn equipment, because anybody that's selling now either needs the money, they have to sell it, or they're looking to upgrade next year. So it's really kind of time and effort. Anybody that's looking at getting into this and you wait till, March or April to start looking to go buy equipment, that's the worst time you could buy equipment, especially if you're looking at used, because everybody's looking to get rid of their junk or whatever they couldn't get running when they started up next year. So timing and patience pays off a lot. You have to plan for that and really be prepared to look for it. And again, that gets back to having that relationship with your local mechanic. If you don't have that ability to do that yourself, become friends with somebody that can do that, and maybe even toss them a few bucks to say, I'm interested in this mower. Would you be interested in checking it out for me? Because they're going to catch things that possibly you do not.
That's really great advice. And one of the things that, I don't have a preference when it comes to whether it's a Toro or Skag or Gravely or any other type of mower. I really don't have a preference. One of the things that I always recommend is, having that relationship with your distributor, right? Your dealer.
Correct.
Because it doesn't matter if it's one brand or another. What good is it if you don't have any support, right?
Yeah, having that relationship with your local dealership, and just go into your local dealership with no intention of actually buying something, and just talk to them. And if you have any other commercial guys that are in there, just ask them what kind of service. Check your reviews on Google or wherever they put reviews on them, because it'll tell you a lot about the service you're going to get after you buy the equipment. And I'm more dependent on the service that I get at a given place than I am a brand name. I'm not so focused on I have to have this brand as much as I want to know I'm going to have service after the sale when I purchase this piece of equipment.
I agree with you 100%. Again, what good is it if you've got the best looking, most expensive, and best reviewed mower or any kind of equipment, but when it breaks down, you can't get it fixed.
Correct.
So let me go into, we're going into the 2022 season here pretty soon. Is there, certain parts and supplies that you recommend, having on hand, or, kind of elaborate on that?
One of the biggest challenges I've found in 2021 even is getting parts for mowers that need even belts, some blades have become hard to find, especially carburetors if you get into rebuilding older equipment. But anything that you need that's a wear part on your mower, your belts, even blades and spindles, I would start looking at those parts now, because I'm having some parts that are taking 60 to 90 days to arrive.
Wow.
Some parts I'm just flat being told, there's a limited, you try to order 6 of them, they tell you there's a limited 2 because there's a limited supply. So parts, materials, any kind of wear item, filters, things like that, I would start looking at your equipment now and place those orders for next year, because 2022, I hate to say it, but I think is going to be a continuance of 2021 at best, and possibly worse.
Wow, I didn't realize it was going to be that bad, but that's really good advice. And again, going back to talking to your dealer, right? That's a good opportunity for you to continue that relationship and really get their advice. Like, here are some of the common things that are, over and beyond, the filter and the blades and such. Here are some of the common things that go wrong with this mower. If they're able to let you know, because maybe they have their service department right there, and oh yeah, I see, this the bearing on this is something that I see, go out quite often. So that's another opportunity for you to really, work with your dealer and figure out what parts you need, what spare parts you need for, 2022, right?
Yeah, if you could talk to the service guys that do the service on this equipment, they know by heart the bearing numbers that are common wear items on just about any mower, belts, even tires. Tires haven't necessarily gotten difficult to find, but they've definitely gotten a lot more expensive. Tires that I used to get for 80 to $100 are now $150 tires for a mower, and it just blows my mind how much things have gone up. In less than 2 years, some things have gone up 40 to 50% on cost, and I really don't know how much of that is a short supply and how much of it is just they know they can get that price right now.
That's amazing. And are you, you said you buy and sell used equipment as well. Are you seeing that kind of trickle down to the used equipment market?
Yeah, right now I'm seeing a lot of people are not buying, this time of year, a lot of people are looking at trading in their used equipment to buy new. And I talk to a lot of the dealers when people trade stuff in. I'm one of the guys that's there to buy it after you drop it off. But they're telling me that guys are not coming in as much this year to trade stuff in because of cost of new equipment. Some dealers are having some hard times getting some parts and pieces. They've got some new mowers. They may not have the decks for them yet. So people are holding off on purchasing. Now, I don't know if that'll continue into the spring, which is obviously the big season for buying. But right now, it seems like the used market is nowhere near as strong as it used to be.
Okay, that's really good to know. So going back, somebody that's starting out or has been in the business for a while, do you have any recommendations as far as, trailers when it comes to, enclosed, open trailer? Any kind of recommendations you can give on that?
The first thing I would say to that is I don't know anybody that ever buys a trailer that's too big. Most people buy a trailer that's too small for what their growth is going to be. And within a very short period of time, they're looking at upgrading that trailer to be able to haul the extra equipment with the leaf blowers and hedge trimmers and, your zero turn and then your smaller mower to cut the backyard. For somebody that has the budget to do it, I would recommend an enclosed trailer simply because it keeps everything out of the weather and it keeps everything safer and more secure, unless you've got a garage or something to back it into every night. But trailers are one of those things that I think is kind of overlooked when people are first getting into lawn care, and they go out and they look at the mowers and spend all the money on that, and then they realize, well, I need to have a trailer to haul this around. So just plan for that trailer as you're looking for equipment, and plan for a little bit of growth. Now, it doesn't mean you need to go out and buy a 18-foot box trailer, but at least look ahead at what your next 2 years are going to be and make sure your trailer is going to fit the needs for what you're trying to do in that first couple years, so you're not trying to replace it as soon as you get it.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. And one of the other benefits of, whether you go with enclosed or not, one of the benefits I also see, you can create a billboard, right, with the enclosed trailer.
Right. And that's huge when you're in commercial lawn care like that, because when you pull that trailer up in a neighborhood, you want it to look good and you want it to be a showpiece that you can show off your name and your work. And you will pick up a lot of business if you've got that name out there that people can see, because they see your work and they see your name. That's going to be your next customer next week, which for a lawn care guy, you want to keep your density as close as possible so all your yards are as close as they can be to save your travel time. And that's a perfect way to do it, is putting that name on the side of a box trailer.
Absolutely, absolutely. And going down with the future of lawn equipment, where do you see that?
I don't know if anybody listening went down to the GIE Expo down in Louisville, but one thing that was striking down there was how much commercial equipment has already gone to a battery powered equipment. And whether we like it or not, that is the wave of the future. And I think there's still a lot to be done to get the batteries up to speed so that they can, last an 8 to 12 hour day without having to stop in the middle of the day and charge batteries. But it's something to think about. If not, very quickly within the next 10 years, I think we're all going to be shocked how much small engine equipment gets switched over to the battery equipment, and how much they're going to improve to compete against the gas powered equipment. It's the paradigm shift, as they say. I think it's already started, and a lot of guys are still stuck on gas engines, me included. But I think it's something that definitely over time is going to transition into that battery realm, whether we like it or not.
What do you think is going to take us to that level? Because I know price point is an issue still, right? And also the life of the battery is an issue.
Yeah, and that's the big thing about a battery powered equipment. I can pick up a 20-year-old mower with a gas motor on it and rebuild that motor relatively inexpensively compared to the cost of replacing batteries, even on a 5 or 6 year old battery powered mower. So, Frank, I honestly don't have a good answer for that, but it's a challenge that I think everybody's going to have to learn to accept over time. I, for one, want to hold on to my gas powered equipment as long as possible, but with regulations and everything going the way they are, I think gas gets to $10 a gallon, we might look at it a little bit differently.
Absolutely. And maybe Elon Musk will get involved in this and they'll accelerate it to the next level. What do you think?
If he can make money on it, I'm sure he'll be right in the middle of it.
A really cool thing, I think it was like, oh gosh, going back maybe 6, 7 years ago, or maybe even a little bit longer than that. And you could probably pinpoint the date for me a little bit. There was a company that was in the news, and they were one of the first ones that went to all battery operated, and they were using and the reason I think you might be able to pinpoint the date was it was when Steel had first came out with their commercial grade battery operated equipment. And this operation was really cool because they had an enclosed trailer with solar panels on the top of the trailer, right? So I think they had like a 12 or 16 foot trailer, and on the top of that trailer, right, on the roof of the trailer, they had solar panels. And then if I remember correctly, all the batteries were interchangeable, whether you had the mower, the weed eater, the edger, the blower. And it was a really neat setup. And I saw that, I want to say about 6, 7 years ago, it was in the news.
Okay, I'm not real familiar with that. I'd have to look into that.
Yeah, and I thought we would be so much further ahead by now, but it just seems like we really haven't made, in my mind anyway, we really haven't made that much progress in the last 6, 7 years.
No, I think it's going to come down to two things. One being the battery technology itself, and the second one will be the processing and how that power is delivered to the motors, as far as how they control the peaks and keep the batteries so they're not peaking as much as they would on a normal just hit it and go. And that technology is just like they've done with gas engines. You think back to the cars from the 70s, they had half the power of the cars they have now on engines that were 3 times the size. And it's going to take time, but I think they will do the same thing eventually with battery powered equipment.
Absolutely. We talked about a lot of things regarding repairs, maintenance, what type of trailers, talked a little bit about the battery operated technology and how the future looks. So aside from all that, what kind of hobbies do you have?
Well, I coach shooting sports, enjoy firearms training and stuff like that. Both of my kids are competitive shooters.
Wow.
It's a friendly competition type thing, and it's something that I really enjoy doing on the side. It's not something I thought I would ever get into, but somehow I wound up right in the middle of it.
So how long have you been doing that? That's pretty cool.
Well, probably about 6 years now.
Wow.
The small engine stuff, hobbies in the garage, I tinker with all kinds of stuff. If you've looked at my YouTube channel, you'll see I've got everything from rebuilding the turbo on my F-350 truck to trailer upgrades, and pretty much any kind of small engine stuff in between there. But I'm very hands-on. I enjoy doing all kinds of stuff like that.
That's awesome. Now, when you guys doing the shooting thing, you guys shoot at each other, or
No, preferably
just
not.
one time?
It's SAP, Scholastic Action Shooting Program, and it's a steels competition. It's all speed related, and the targets are set up at varying distances. There's 5 stages at each match, and each stage has 5 targets, and depending on the speed, and they compete as squads, so it's a team of 4. And the total time of each shooter and each squad is then what you'd use to compete against the other teams.
That's very cool. That's something that I'll have to take a look at.
It's one of those sports that doesn't really show up on too many people's radar unless you know something about it. But it's a huge sport. Columbus, Ohio just had nationals this year, and there were almost 3,000 athletes there for that.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, hey, I really appreciate you coming on and giving us such great information. Before we close, if you want to let the audience know how they can reach out to you again, maybe giving them your YouTube handle one more time. So we want the audience to make sure that they visit your YouTube channel, and as you add more information, they can keep connected with you.
Absolutely. I appreciate that, Frank. The YouTube channel is Bald Eagle 242, all one word with the numbers and letters together. And if anybody wanted to reach out with me on email, it's baldeagle242@gmail.com.
Awesome. And Steve, again, it's a pleasure and an honor to have you on the show. Thank you so much for giving us all this great information, and we will definitely be in touch. And again, thank you so much.
You're welcome, Frank. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it, and look forward to seeing some of your more content coming out in the future.
Sounds good. Thank you. I hope this information was helpful to you. Please make sure to subscribe, like, and hit the bell button so you're notified of my future videos. See you next time, Lawn Care Pros.